And if there is ever an encouraging reason to exercise, if anybody who hasn't done it or doesn't do it consistently, it is that.
Yeah.
Because life doesn't give you that many victories. These are victories that you can make for yourself.
Hey guys, welcome to Resiliency Rounds. And today we're going to be talking about fitness, physical fitness.
Man, I couldn't find the word. I was thinking of exercise. I was thinking of physical wellness. It was physical fitness. I thought about it the other day, and it completely slipped my mind. It's so weird. I was like, that would sound weird if you say we're talking about exercise.
Physical education. Kinesiology.
But anyway, so Eddie.
Yes. Aneesh.
In your mind, what is the purpose of exercise?
The purpose of exercise is to maintain health, to help reduce your risk to diseases that are associated with sedentary lifestyle. But there's also, I think, other benefits that involve things having to do with emotional well-being, stress relief. There is a ritualistic practice of discipline, but also a self, like you're testing yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's how I would describe it. So there's kind of three levels. One of them, which I think is kind of like the general popular understanding of it. The second one has to do more with the kind of the emotional stress relief benefits to it. Mm-hmm. But the third layer is the one that I think is just my own personal view, which is I think there is a testing and development of mental fortitude that's incorporated as part of the process.
Yeah, man, I think that's a great summary of all the reasons why someone should exercise.
So I know of research that says that exercise helps with depression and helps with anxiety. But when you look at the root cause, that answer I don't think is so simple. And so I have a completely opinion-based rationale behind it. But I just think that there is, and it's kind of a sort of a blunt, unobvious explanation, but we are wired to have in our lives some modicum of physical exertion.
Not some. We are wired to have physical activity. It's part of being alive.
Sure. And so
I completely agree with you.
Right. And so then when you don't have that, then it's sort of like the ruminating brain. Mm-hmm. And here's where it's the part where cognitive, psychological states and physical states have a mutually interactive, it's a concurrent dynamic that's happening there. And when you've completely lost to opportunities of physical exertion, what you end up in situations is where you have a mind, I think, that just ruminates without actually expressing them in a physical way. And I think over an imbalance in that. If there's too much thinking and not enough doing, or not enough doing of what you're thinking about, in certain circumstances, I think that's what leads to some of these problems. Because those are the conditions, I think, cognitively that you need, sure, to make rational decisions and discoveries and lots of good things. But for certain people, those are the exact conditions you also need to end up in anxiety spirals and depression and, feeling detached, losing the sense of deriving pleasure from activity, right? So the anhedonia that happens with depression. And so I think that's the relationship in my...
No, obviously, we're not suggesting that essentially if you're depressed, clinically depressed, you go for a run and then you're not going to be depressed anymore.
No.
But this is more of this chronic kind of a life that is now unhinged from physical activity. We were just talking about it a second ago, right? About a walking meditation.
Right.
Like, it's not necessarily that you are meditating while you're walking. The fact that you're walking, you're meditating. Now, if you take a step further from that, like if you go out on a run, it clears your mind. The reason is, beyond a certain point, all you're thinking about is, man, this sucks, and I have to like suck in air. And you can't think of anything else. Like, I have been in bad moods and gone out for a run and come back and my mind is absolutely clear.
Yeah. Sublimation. That's what Freud called it, right?
Yeah.
So it's when you take that nervous energy and you turn it into physical or something, constructive.
Well, if you're running, if you're in pain, in discomfort, your mind has to focus on that. It does not focus on these other trivial things, 100 other trivial things that kind of weigh down the mind and cause anxiety. Go away.
Yeah, and so I get that. I can understand that. I think my fitness journey has fluctuated significantly, and I think in the beginning for me, I really got into fitness first by requirement and also by my own desire. Was when I was in the military. I had to. They had fitness requirements that you had to meet. But I remember after passing my general boards, I woke up one morning and I said, okay, I think I feel like cognitively, intellectually, I'm heading in the right direction. I need to focus on my body. So after that, I made that decision. I got connected with a personal trainer who's still a good friend of mine. And he basically kind of laid out, this is kind of the pathway to fitness. His name was Herman, great guy. And so basically he started me through the process, and we started off, with the basics, getting the cardio good and built up. And then from there, gradually moving into, like high rep, low weight regimens to get the form figured out. And then from there, we started to move up to heavier weights.
How old were you?
This is like back in 2000 this would have been back in 2010-ish. So 10 years ago. So like I was in
late 20s.
No, so like
30s.
no, I would be like mid 30s.
Mid 30s.
Early to mid 30s. So now I'm realizing how old I am. But anyway, but you're right. You're bringing up a good point. I think I know what you're implying there. But so it started to happen. Like I got into really amazing shape, and for my own personal standards. And so it got to the point where, I was barely passing the physical fitness test to where I was acing it. I was like in the top percentile for passing. And I got to the point where I was leading unit exercises. We would have competitive runs, and nobody in my age group was where I was always finishing either first or second in the 1.5 mile run that we would do as a unit. So it'd be like me and then like 20-year-olds. It was so I'd reached this level of physical fitness that I was proud of, and then I started doing CrossFit. so there's like a love-hate relationship there, because in the military at that time where I was, CrossFit was a very big thing, and that's something I wanted to try. Anyway, it took one day of doing squat thrusters during one of the exercises where I tore my rotator cuff. And I didn't get it fixed right away. I tried to rehab my way out of it, and I just could not do it. And so there it was, like, boom, I have an injury, and it's amazing how a shoulder injury impacts everything you could do from an exercise standpoint.
You're the leopard now, with a broken paw.
Right, I was like the leopard. Now I just needed to crawl up a tree and wait to die. And so it was very frustrating. So from there was a massive decline. And then that was right as I was heading into fellowship, which was even worse, because now my time schedule was totally obliterated. I didn't have control of my time at that point. And so it was a gradual just losing all my strength. And so, but then after graduating fellowship, I started to come back to it using the lessons that I had learned. But I noticed that it had to be a little bit different, because I found that what I was doing, the mistake that I made, was I didn't have moderation. I didn't have temperance. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, I've never told you this, but I got to the point where I was actually working out twice a day. Just because.
I'm not surprised, man.
Because I remember, we worked out today. Is that why? I remember.
No, not because.
I distinctly.
I know what you went through. Like I know exactly what
because you went through it
too.
But I distinctly remember being bored and not being able to sleep. And in the military, the gyms are open 24 hours, so they're very. So I remember having insomnia. It would be like 11 o'clock at night. I'd worked out early that morning, worked all day. My notes are caught up. The kids are asleep. My wife's asleep. Nothing going on. 11 o'clock, I can't sleep. I go to the gym and then knock out like a cardio workout, or I'll do a circuit or something like that. And then go to work the next day. So I wasn't even sleeping the way I needed to. And it was only later that I realized, oh, yeah, you need to sleep. Turns out sleep's really important. So I was on this overdoing it type path. And so that led to the shoulder injury. So when I resumed, I noticed that I was much more mindful about injury prevention, and I started to listen to my body. And it wasn't about how I looked so much or numbers, because I was getting pretty obsessed with numbers. It was more of like, how do I feel? Like my joints, are they hurting? But then the other thing that started to creep in too, because this was right at about the time where I'd started to do some things. I did the Kabat-Zinn's book, Mindfulness, and some of that stuff started to creep in. And it seemed very amenable to me to say, some of this stuff applies, I think, to exercise. And so I gradually, little by little, started to involve basically mental exercise is what I was doing. I realized that a lot of what I was doing to begin with was already a mental exercise, but I just formalized it and said, okay, what I'm going to do here is just think about what I'm doing, but also give myself like mental challenges. So as I'm enduring the pain of, for example, of that last set, or the last rep of the last set, practicing and not trying to avoid the pain, just like almost embracing it, like incorporating kind of a mindful acceptance to that. And so it totally changed my perspective on exercise. And I realized I was coming out of gyms feeling like I just meditated, and not so much like, I wore myself out, and like I blew up the gym and I'm walking out. So and now I am where I am right now, which is largely looking at exercise as something that I still want to do. I mean, I still want to look good naked, but I know it's much bigger than that. And I involve a lot more just sort of what I call cognitive exercise in what I'm doing, and being mindful about how I'm approaching the exercise and what I'm feeling, and using that as an opportunity to kind of practice breathing through or dealing with and thinking through moments of stress. But in this case, what I'm talking about is physical stress, which is a good surrogate, I think, for kind of the emotional stresses that we go through. So, yeah,
no, I think I think it's a pretty typical. What I've figured out now is a pretty typical journey with exercise. Although, however, in your case, you're talking about like starting a little bit later, like in your 30s. But I'm sure you worked out in your 20s too, right?
I've never been steadily in shape. Like when I was in high school, I was in good shape. I was on a swim team.
Yeah, that's right. You were in the swim team, right?
Yeah, and I swam my butt off, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But that was what's interesting there is that was just pure love of the activity. Like, I didn't think of it as exercise. I just loved to swim, and to swim fast was just what I wanted to do. And then in college, I really didn't do much. Really, I didn't do much in med school either. I mean, I blew up in med school. I got up to like 215 pounds. It was like there was a lot of sedentary activity there. And then, but the military was like, there was no option. It's like got to get in shape. So,
and you've brought up some very good points. Actually, I was thinking about it. Like, and we talk about the military and what they do. But my fitness journey was, I was always a very skinny kid. I was very conscious of the fact that I was a very skinny kid. And my dad, I was an army brat. And the army has this there's no doubt the army is designed, is made, the purpose of it is to fight. And so, you have to be in shape. So, I was a skinny kid whose dad was a strong man, surrounded by men in the army who were strong men. And I was not. So I would be in the bathroom trying to lift pails of buckets of water, basically, and trying to build. My mom used to laugh at me for that. But these are the kind of things that I used to do. But I was also kind of not very confident. And I couldn't climb up trees and run on the roofs and stuff. I would do it, but I wasn't confident doing it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also didn't participate in the kind of sports that men did, like soccer and field hockey. I played table tennis and I played cricket, which are games that, don't require that much physicality necessarily to do it. And
you'll have to explain cricket to me one of these days.
Cricket is like baseball, man. And
no, I know, but I lived in England for 3 years and I still couldn't understand it. I was like, okay.
Point is, doesn't require much physicality. And the other thing was that for the formative period of, as a boy, is that just that preteen period is critical, man. Because if you don't get physical at that point in time in life, like you lack the skill. And unfortunately, for those 2-3 years, we ended up moving to a place where there were no kids around me. It was just me, and my brother was 4 years younger than me. And the house was great. Like there were trees, orchards. We used to climb trees. We do also climb on the roof. We do all that kind of stuff. But it was just him and me. So organized sport, I couldn't play. And I never could. And that actually stayed with me. So when I became a teen, and I suddenly found myself didn't have the skill to play with the other guys. And so that made me even more kind of intellectual. I started thinking more. And I was kind of sensitive and things like that. And that wasn't like a great period of time in my life. And but it wasn't bad. I mean, just I'm saying, like from a guy's standpoint, I didn't have like the typical like into sports, lots of like physically strong, like confident in yourself. Like I wasn't that kind of guy. Till I started playing basketball. And it was beautiful because basketball came to India in a big way after we got cable TV and we started watching the Jordan era of.
Awesome! Yeah.
And so we got his sixth title and things like that, and basketball became a big thing. But the thing was, everybody had the same skill set because nobody had played the game as much, and we had a basketball court in our school, and we all started playing basketball. So then I started kind of getting into sport and I could play, and I was actually picked first. Like, that was the first time in my life that I was actually picked first on awesome. When we were playing like pickup ball.
Yeah.
They would look for me and they would pick for me. It was awesome, and they would like it was amazing. And that was the first time in my life that I actually felt physically that I could do something. But I didn't take it anywhere. I was in India for the most part. You have to study. That's in order to get out of to be worth anything, you have to study. So anyways, we're getting too much into it. Essentially, so because there was no focus on physical activity, I did what was expected of me. Like, I just studied. I crushed it. Like I could put it down. Like when it came to hard work, like I worked hard. I wasn't smart, but I worked really hard, and I got where I wanted to go. But that's when you come to this 16, 17, 18, that's the time when I look around and I have to see that, I'm physically, I can't keep up with some of these other guys. So when I turned 18, that's when I met one of my closest friends, and we met, he's like a brother to me now, and we started working out together. And that's the first time I ever worked out formally. I went into the gym. First time walked into a gym at the age of 18, and the guy who owned the gym was sitting there, and he saw me and he's like, "You've never worked out ever, have you?" And I said, "No, I've never worked out." He said, "Okay, fine. This is what you need to do." And he showed me a few moves. That got me into working out. But you can imagine a place like that, in even though it's Bombay and it's like, it's like one of the most developed cities in India. Back then, when I was in just starting medical school, there wasn't that much information, man. I mean, we would look at Ronnie Coleman's photos and we would look at, Arnold Schwarzenegger's photos and stuff. And we didn't know how they got there. We were like, you just work out and you get there. We had some basic moves. Even though I knew anatomy, I knew how to pick up and what muscles were being worked. I had no idea what hypertrophy workouts were. I had no idea what, how do you, what low reps.
Like lifting for strength and lifting for hypertrophy are different, right?
Yeah, they're very different. Or what to eat. Like we always thought that we are not getting big because we're not eating right. Like we don't have the same protein powders that these guys drink. It's got nothing to do with protein powders, or you're supposed to eat as natural as you can get, because there were bodybuilders working out in our gym right next to us, but we didn't have the wherewithal to ask them what they were doing. It was just about lifting, and I lifted and I looked good. The reason to do it for me was because I wanted to fill up my shirts. And that was the reason to do it. And there's no question. Like I started working out within a year or two, and if you're 18 or 19. You eat and you work out, dang, like you get big, and that was it. That was my reason to work out, because I looked good, and but that was also the Achilles heel, because you can never look good enough, because the metric itself is wrong. You don't work out to look good. You look good because you work out.
Right.
And I started with P90X videos. Himangi and me used to do them, and they sucked. Like I was like, this is crazy. Like what? I mean, and I'm not getting any. Yeah, you do get bigger, but you can't do it. You can't do those kind of pull-ups if you've never done those kind of pull-ups. You can't jump around like you've not jumped around. And I remember having this conversation with a cardiologist. Like he was a cardiologist, and my fellow and me, I was a resident then, and the fellow, we were doing P90X, and we were talking about it all the time. And this cardiologist was like jacked, right? And we have this conversation in front of him, and he's like, "What are you guys doing again?" He's like, "P90X. So what is it?" And we told him what it was, and he's like, "How long do you think you guys will be able to keep this up?" And at that point, I never thought about what he told us.
Yeah.
And I just said whatever. I completed. I think I left last couple of weeks or whatever. I couldn't. The other guy, the fellow, stopped working out. I stopped working out. I never completed the 90 days and whatever. But it took me a while to realize that that's exactly right. And suddenly I came to my 30s and I reignited exercise and started working out. I found out finally what hypertrophy related exercises were. I got into it. And then I realized I couldn't deadlift. I couldn't lift. I couldn't lift things that were heavy. I looked big, but I wasn't strong.
Right.
And I was like, this cannot be it.
Right.
Like this cannot be strength. Right. I took up running and I ran till I was like 150 pounds and I looked sick. Like people walk up to me and they'll be like, "Man, like, are you all right?" And I'm like, I can't imagine. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I can run miles and miles, and people think I'm sick. I look sick. That's weird. And my mom, my wife, everybody is like, this has to end. You cannot be this reed thin. And I was like, this cannot be fitness. Hypertrophy exercises cannot be fitness. So what is fitness?
Right. That's the question. What is fitness?
And then I heard about CrossFit, and they talk about it as functional fitness. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is it. It has to be CrossFit. When I make enough money, I'm going to try it out because it's too expensive. Yeah. The minute I got into, I started as an attending physician, I was like, I'm going to try CrossFit. And I did, and it blew my mind. I'm like, yes, this is functional fitness. And I was wrong. But it was the best of all the fitness experiences I've had. CrossFit was the best experience I ever had. I was stronger, faster. I looked great. I felt like $1 million. I mean, I could do whatever I wanted to do. I was wearing weighted vests and running sub 8-minute miles. Like I was just the strongest, fastest, best. And I was like, yes, now I can be my dad if I wanted to be my dad. Like that's the thing I was getting in my mind. I was like, it was like this thing that was like a little canary that was kept locked in a box, and now it's come out and this is like a full-blooded falcon, I was never strong enough because no one gave me the chance. If not, I could have been whoever I wanted to be.
You had arrived.
I got that feeling. It's like this, the eye of the tiger is playing in the background. Till I got injured.
Yeah.
And I got injured and I said, this is nothing. I was flexible. I was doing all the accessory workouts. I was doing everything to kind of keep my core strong. I felt great. I was like, no, this is just a muscle twinge. And this is just a muscle twinge. This is just a muscle twinge. And I kept working out, I was working all the time. I was telling everybody I met, CrossFit is the thing. It'll free your mind. Like, it'll get rid of your stress. It'll get rid of all the anxieties that you have. How can you not do it? And I pushed my wife to do it. I told my brother-in-law about it. Anybody I would meet, I would tell him, because I was doing it and I didn't want anybody else to miss out on it. Mm-hmm. And I was dealing with this injury and I kept dealing with it. And I said, it's nothing. It's going to get better. And one day I just couldn't get off the floor. The reason that CrossFit works is not because it makes you do thrusters. It's because you do it in a team setting, there's competition. What you're doing is playing. You don't realize you're playing.
Yeah.
Exercise, it should be a self-motivating act. Kids exercise. They run around, they skip, they jump, they play. They do it because it's fun. Imagine if you and me could have that same kind of fun doing the things that they do. We don't, because we think it's silly. We think those kind of games are silly. Jumping, balancing, hanging is silly.
Yeah.
Unless you do it in a group setting. Then you can jump off and balance and do box jumps. If you were to find yourself doing those things outside of a gym, you would think of those things as silly. Look at this 40-year-old person jumping around like this. Like, it just looks silly, right? It shouldn't be silly. It should be self-motivated. It should be fun. And if it's fun, you'll be motivated to do it. The reason why most people look at someone exercising and they're like, man, this is ridiculous. Why is this guy doing this? Looks painful. I can't do it. And the fact that you and me have both gone through phases where we have worked out and then quit because of lack of motivation, that in itself shows that it's upending itself. Exercise upends itself. You got to find reasons to make it work.
Yeah.
It clears my mind.
But I think that cardiologist that you talked about said the exact right thing. You got to find something that works for you that you can do every day.
See, in his case, he was addled with anxiety. And he was working out. He was jacked because he was working out to get rid of his anxiety.
But it's still true, though. I mean, it's...
But I don't disagree with that fact. Yeah. But the point is that if the object is to get rid of something and that's why you're doing it, it motivates you to do it, no question. But imagine doing it for its own sake, because it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people do that, right?
But you have to trick yourself, is what I'm saying.
So what we need to do is like just get like 20 caged leopards is the theme of this. What you need to do is like get 20 caged leopards and like release them into the city, and like people will really start working.
Yeah. The point is that's what it comes down to this issue. That's the reason why exercise is in itself is, you cannot motivate everybody to get off their butt to exercise. Mm-hmm. You just can't. It's not going to happen.
So then if we break it down, then we have to decide first, is there a value to fitness?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so if there's value to fitness...
What is the value though?
Right. What is it?
What is the value? Because I think everybody looks at it exactly the same way that we looked at it before. It makes you look good. It makes you live long. Mm-hmm. It makes you... in case of emergencies, I'll be able to kind of I'll be able to, because I'm fit, I'll be able to, perform these activities. All of those things are reasons that modern men have, or women have come up with as reasons to do a certain thing. But all of those things being true, why isn't it that everybody works out? You see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
because it's simple. I mean, there's no question. You ask anybody, is exercise good for you? Everybody says exercise is great. Then why are you not doing it? Because we use the term exercise as a reason, as a way to get these things. As opposed to, if not exercise, then what? Like what?
It's viewed as above and beyond as opposed to an obligation. It kind of goes along the lines of the conversations we've had. It's a duty. And when I was in the military, that's how it was looked at. You were expected to exercise. Like there was no, we actually had to log in hours. Like, oh, I got to leave. I got to go do my,
But you see, even if you look at it from the military standpoint, my dad hated those military exercises. I can tell you about it, man. He used to be like, it was just, and so if you're forced to do it, right?
Yeah.
If you're forced to do it, obviously you'll be like, what the heck, man? This is the worst thing ever, right? It's like taking someone for a run who doesn't want to go for a run.
Yeah.
Right? They hate it. They always groan. They moan. They don't enjoy it. And you're like, how come he's not enjoying it? It doesn't make any sense. Point is, the military has got it right. That the kind of exercises they make you do, the kind of stuff they make you do. Like, I don't know how it is in the US military. Maybe there's a lot of weightlifting. I think there's a lot of weightlifting that happens here. But it's balancing off things. It's climbing. It's swimming. It is ducking. It is.
So like Like bear crawls.
Like bear crawls,
or alligator-
things like that. Yeah.
Scorpion push-ups type stuff. Yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of things because terrain is like that.
Like global body weight training, basically.
There is no lifting weights. It's your backpack, it's your weapon, it is what you're carrying on you. And you take that and you have to push things over a wall and jump over after it and then pick it up, back, put it back on, run, balance while you're doing it with an uneven load, climbing a rope while you have an uneven load, helping a buddy, pushing him over, carrying somebody, running with him. These are the things that humans did. I can't do any of them.
Yeah. For me, the most important thing about exercise is learning to be honest with yourself. Like walking out of the gym saying, okay, I did what I planned to do and I left it all in the gym. I didn't skimp. I didn't cut any corners. I didn't say, that, I mean, for me, that's very important. Practicing, being honest with myself.
So this brings us finally brings us down to the discussion we were having today while we were pulling tires, right?
Yeah.
And the question essentially was, at the end of the workout, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Right? How do you feel at the end of the workout? And you said, what did you say?
I don't remember.
You said that.
I blacked it out. No, I felt great. Like I felt exhausted, but I was gassed. Like for that last set that we did, I knew I was being honest with myself. I felt like I still had a little gas in the tank, and so I was like, well, I'm going to burn it all out here because that's what I want to do.
You said you felt like you accomplished something. You got something done.
Yeah, I felt invigorated. Yeah,
right.
And I felt like I'd set a goal and I'd met it. It was a little micro happiness step, and that's fine. But it was it was invigorating. It felt good.
Yeah. So. And that's it. It's called in running. It's called the runner's high. In working out, basically, it gives you a high at the end. It's a sense of accomplishment. Something that you did, which was hard. It hurt.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to have done it, but you did it. it was a little victory. And that's, of all the reasons to work out, that's a reason to do it, man.
Yeah.
To actually get a little victory.
So strangely, and that's what I mean. So the best part of the exercise was the cognitive benefit from it,
right.
For me. So the thing that happened mentally in here after the exercise is, what motivated me.
Right. Because we all know that just because you can work out one day or do something one day, it's not going to suddenly change your body.
Right. So that was my last workout. So
so it is a cognitive effect of it. That's the best reason to do it. And if there is ever an encouraging reason to exercise, if there's anybody who hasn't done it or doesn't do it consistently, it is that.
Yeah.
Because life doesn't give you that many victories. These are victories that you can make for yourself. If you set a good target for yourself and you achieve the target, and there has to be, I think we were in the middle of it and you're like, man, now it's going to suck. And we both agreed, right? This is the time it's going to suck. And there's a time there that your mind tells you, man, just stop. Like, come on, you don't need to do this. And you quelch that and you keep going.
Right.
And when you get done, you're like, yes, your victory was you squashed your own mind, your own weakness.
Yeah, you overcame it.
Right. And that overcoming is that cognitive victory. The victory is not, if you did 5 sets and it was all easy, that maybe that victory is, you won't have the same victory.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And for all the reasons to do it, I think that's the reason to do it.
Yeah.
To feel better about yourself, the confidence, the fact, you give yourself a mental high five, you give yourself a hug. It builds self-respect.
Right.
And builds confidence. Right?
Yeah.
I work out every day. And I've never worked out every day before.
Mm.
But what is a workout? Right? Comes back to that. I'm not doing a CrossFit workout every day.
Yeah.
But I hang on like pull-up bars, for extended durations of time. I rehab every day with weights. My wife and me, I run with my son.
Mm-hmm.
I do push-ups with my wife. And we've been on this push-up challenge. And we've been doing it together. And I swim. And I find 20 minutes, 10 minutes, could be 5 minutes. But I make sure I do it every day.
Yeah.
And it's not that I do it because I put it in my calendar and I do it. Like I should do this before. Today is a workout day. I'm going to go work out.
Yeah.
I work out. I just if you're having a conversation, I'm rehabbing my leg and things like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I call all of them workouts.
Yeah.
Why not? What I've realized essentially is that the reason to work out every day is not to work out. It's to develop the discipline.
Yeah.
And it is a long haul, man. It's for life. You could push, you could do thrusters, you could do all of those things now, but can you do the same things when you're 70? Can you do it when you're 80? I don't know. I think the answer to that is probably no. But the discipline can be there.
Oh, yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah. And so that's what I was going to get at, is like when you were talking about the armless, legless person, there are still opportunities to exercise.
Yeah.
Right. The physical potential is different, right? But
Very different.
But how that person chooses to define what discipline they're going to follow, that they can still define that, and they can still find ways to meet whatever milestones they define for themselves. What you're saying reminds me of an interesting story that that mentor, that personal trainer that I met, we were on the conversation. He was very into, he didn't call it that.
Go ahead.
He didn't call it mindfulness or anything like that, but he kept calling it Zen.
Uh-huh.
He's like, man, you gotta find a way to bring Zen into your workouts. And we were on that conversation, and this is like way before I had started like mindfulness, meditation, any of that stuff. And so, but he told me about a guy, he told me about the fitness, I don't want to use the word guru, but it was somebody who was a fitness advocate that he admired. I don't remember the name, and I don't think they were very famous. But he was telling me he knew this person, and the way he did exercise he thought was perfect. And it was this. The guy was an artist, and his art involved moving boulders into particular shapes that were aesthetically pleasing. And that was his exercise, because he would move the boulders by hand.
Mm-hmm.
He would not use power machinery or anything. So he would find these boulders, right? And then he would have to figure out how to dig them out, how to move them, and then he would transport them to wherever he was going to stage his little exhibit or his art. And so the guy said it was perfect because it was an artistic expression. He was moving everything, using his ingenuity, using his strength, leverage, everything. The guy was in awesome shape because this is what he did, like constantly. Not convenient for most people. But when he told me that story, I was like, that's pretty awesome. That guy's basically, he's combined his artistic drive with this, physical exertion. So here I find, to that mentor, he gave me 10 rules. These are the 10 rules of fitness he taught me. I'm going to read these real fast. He said, number 1, you're only as strong as your grip. Number 2, strength starts from your back. Agility starts from your core. Endurance starts from your heart. Fitness starts when all 3 are peaked.
Oh.
Number 3, shrug what you squat. Number 4, build functional strength before you isolate muscle groups. Don't waste your time doing curls if you can't do a pull-up.
There we go.
Number 5, involve your core with every exercise. Number 6, breathe. Number 7, remember fitness cannot be bought or bribed. She can only be earned, and she will leave you the second you ignore her. Number 8, proper form beats monster weight every time. Mm-hmm. Number 9, you will get injured. Adapt. And number 10, he said, cook your own food. Put in your body only those ingredients you have chosen thoughtfully. He said that was it. He said, if you do these 10 things, that's it. No, after that point, you forget what your body does. You just do those 10 things. Some of that still rings true.
Right.
Especially the curls, right? You were talking about biceps.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, this was good.
Don't forget to look us up and subscribe to our podcast and leave us an honest 5-star rating. But really, at this point, any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And as always, we will include relevant information in our show notes wherever possible.
So we have a Twitter handle, we have a Facebook page, we also have our Gmail account, resiliencyrounds@gmail.com. So shoot us some questions, give us some feedback there, and we'll be happy to get back in touch with you.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Yeah, thank you.